Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the most kind and the most merciful. I'd like to extend the greetings of Islam to you all. Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon you all. I'd like to first thank Brother Muhammad Chauhan for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to be with you today. And likewise, I'd like to thank Albaraka Bank for hosting this event, for arranging this event, and all the people out there who have come together to make this event successful. May God bless you all. And likewise, I'd like to thank and extend my appreciation to yourselves, the viewers, the attendees, the listeners, in taking part in this initiative. These are the kind of discourses and discussions which we need to have to really further our understanding on cryptocurrencies, on blockchain and tokens, and whatever this industry offers. Because these can be a means to better society and humanity. So I applaud you all for coming together and bringing your expertise, your experiences and relevance to this table. South Africa is a very dear spot to me. I studied in South Africa back in 2011 and 2012. So I always have a soft spot in my heart for South Africa, and I hope to return one day, inshallah, and be with you in person. The topic that I've been designated with is a discussion on my paper which I published last year on Bitcoin, the Sharia perspective of Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is just a drop in the ocean. Honestly, Bitcoin is just one part of this big jigsaw puzzle. The current discussions have moved way ahead of Bitcoin. Now is the era and age that we're discussing on how to use blockchain in an efficient manner, how to use blockchain for multiple causes. What are initial coin offerings and what's the Sharia relevance and compliance of such endeavors? Likewise, Bitcoin is just one type of cryptocurrency. There's hundreds out there, right? And they function and represent different things, okay? They are not peer-to-peer payment systems. There's tokens out there which are all sorts. They offer all sorts of rights and accesses. So Bitcoin is really just one part of the entire jigsaw puzzle. The real focus is on this entire industry. So this paper I published was last year on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. The journey behind that paper, it's taken me 2 years approximately writing that paper, looking into it. And that paper was initially for my master's dissertation in Islamic finance and banking. So I completed my master's degree last year in Islamic finance and banking. And my thesis was based on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And that's where I really took out much time in researching Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. In the last couple of months, I've been researching, reviewing cryptocurrencies as a whole, as well as blockchain and tokens and ICOs. So just in the last month or so, I've written 2 papers, one on ICOs, the Sharia analysis of ICOs, of initial coin offerings, and likewise, I have also written a paper on tokens and coins. So encapsulating the entire discussion of cryptocurrencies, tokens, and coins, not just on Bitcoin, and analyzing from a Sharia perspective, what are these tokens? What could they be and what are they? And just offering plausible explanations of this from a Sharia perspective. These papers will be published soon. A link will be available on my website. They've been published for a company in Bahrain, which I am an advisor for. So a link will be available on my website for those papers. The website is www.afinance.org. afinance.org. So anybody who's interested in reviewing my work and reading my papers are more than welcome to do so. A link will be available on those websites. Now, focusing on my topic on Bitcoin, the real challenge that has been there for scholars and practitioners in the industry is understanding the mechanics, the backgrounds, the concepts, okay? Because any person who talks about Bitcoin, who talks about blockchain, must have a prior understanding of how it all operates. That's why in jurisprudence, one of the famous principles demands al-hukmu ala shay far'un an tasawwurihi, that a judgment can only be passed on something when a prior conceptualization of that thing has embedded in the person. Until you don't perceive something in its entirety, have a clear understanding of it, You cannot issue a ruling on it. For a mufti, for a scholar to give a ruling, pass a ruling on something without understanding it, it's wrong. It's not the correct methodology to have. And therefore, scholars have been very hesitant in issuing rulings. Only in the last 6 months to a year have we seen a proliferation and increase in opinions being manifested with regards to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So that's what has been the challenge. The challenge has been to study blockchain cryptocurrency. It requires months, and I'm sure those of you who are in the audience who work in the blockchain industry, who have an understanding of this with IT and technology, for you it will be very easy to grasp. So for a scholar, what he has to do is understand the entire discourse on blockchain, understand what cryptocurrencies are, thereafter visit the Sharia, understand from a jurisprudence perspective, looking back and researching what does the Sharia say and analyzing these things, because we can't find an example in history which resembles these kind of occurrences. These are totally new occurrences. It's a completely new technology. So, I mean, it couldn't be perceived that humans won't be part of a system, right? In validating, and you can have a system which is like decentralized in such a manner. Okay, so these things require a lot of time, a lot of research, and that's why scholars are very they take time in researching these out of diligence and care and caution. So, Alhamdulillah, by the grace of God Almighty Allah, I did do this research, and I just want to share some of my findings and thoughts on this topic. See, the first thing is, when it comes to Islamic law, is generally divided into two. You have the ibadat, the worship, and you have the mu'amalat, the transactions. There are laws of transactions. When it comes to ibadat, worship, Islamic law is very particular, very conservative, very strict, very precise. When it comes to mu'amalat, which is transaction and financial dealings, Islamic law has its principles. Okay, it has its principles. Because the foundation in Islamic transactions is everything is permissible unless there's a clear evidence to make it impermissible. Transactions and financial dealings have been there for our benefit. Okay? It's for our worldly benefit. Whereas ibadat, worship, is for primarily our benefit in the hereafter and not our benefit in this world. And therefore, the laws with regards to ibadat and worship are more specific, whereas the laws with regards to mu'amalat, with financial dealings and transactions, have been left to us to work within a parameter and framework, but do what's in the interest of people. So with regards to, when you understand that, and now we consider the whole discourse on Bitcoin, it's always beneficial and praiseworthy in transactions, in the laws of transactions, to find something which is of benefit to mankind. It works in our favor. And if blockchain, cryptocurrencies can work in our favor within the parameters of Sharia, then it'll be wholeheartedly taken by the Sharia. There's nothing to prohibit it thereafter. So with regards to cryptocurrencies, focusing on Bitcoin, the first point, so there's a couple of points I just want to run through. The first point is, which scholars have debated, is what is Bitcoin? Is it even in existence? Okay, because if we consider general life, we see that most things have a physical being and entity that we trade and that we use. Okay, only recently has the digital world come, and as a result, we've started using things which are intangible, trading things which are intangibles, but we know they exist. Okay, so some scholars are question the understanding that, do bitcoins really exist? Is there anything in existence? What are you trading? Okay, a very simple answer to that is there's many things out there today. For example, we breathe the air, we don't see the air. We know it's there from its consequences. Okay, if you have a vacuum, we know there's no air there. So it's not necessary to always see things. I mean, there's data that we have. Everything, all this data that we're sending, we know it's there, we're getting the benefits from it. Okay, Likewise, Bitcoin. Yes, it's encoded. It's there on the ledger, on the public ledger. It's there in your wallet. You see the difference there, the digits there. So it definitely does have an existence. It is something. We see the consequences and on the benefits of it. So there's existence there. And that proves that if it's existence there, there is something there. Now, what is it there for? Right? Is it Islamic law stipulates that to trade something, it must be either mal or manfa'a, okay, or haq, which is a right. So these are just technical terms in Islamic law. But for the sake of the audience today, we just have to determine, is Bitcoin mal, which means like property. Okay, is it something property? Or what is mal? Mal is something which scholars describe as something which is retrievable, to distinguish it from those things which are not retrievable. So anything which is storable, retrievable, is mal, which can be stored to be used later. It's mal. So Bitcoin is that I have access to it in my wallet. It's there. I can transfer it when I want. It's retrievable upon demand whenever I want. So Bitcoin passes the criteria of mal. The second criterion is to trade something, to use something, is known as taqawwum. Taqawwum in Arabic means having legal value. In Islamic law, you can only trade something, use something which has legal value. So, for example, a Muslim, he can't sell pork or wine because the Islamic law says these don't have taqawwum, they're not valid, they don't have legal value. And therefore, it's not permissible to make any money from selling these things, and neither can you sell it. The trade will be invalid, will be void. Therefore, taqawwum. Does Bitcoin have taqawwum? Taqawwum is simple. Having legal value, these are just digits, it's just a technology, it's just there. It's lawful, so there's no problem, it has taqawwum as well. The third criterion is whether it's a currency. Now, this is where the biggest debate is, because in the industry, there's split opinions here among scholars. One group of scholars of the opinion that Bitcoin is crypto asset. Those who say it's permissible, they are split between these two. Some argue that Bitcoin is just an asset and they call it crypto asset, which is another common term now in the industry. It's an asset, it's like any other commodity. It's like oil, you're trading oil. It's just an asset, okay? The other group say, no, it's a currency. So this is where the two opinions are at the present time. One group saying it's a commodity, the other group saying, no, it's a currency. Those who argue and say it's a commodity say that, look, if you look at the fundamental features of currencies, Bitcoin does not fulfill any of those. It's not a store of value. It's not an independent standard of value of unit of account. It's not a medium of exchange. Okay, Bitcoin, and neither is it a standard for deferred payment or settlement. So Bitcoin doesn't fulfill the functions and characteristics of currencies. It's not a store of value. Neither it's a unit of account. It's not a medium of exchange. And they argue it's not a store of value because of the volatility. Neither is it a unit of account because nobody uses Bitcoin to price items. Neither it's a medium of exchange. Okay, it's not accepted widely. And number four, neither is a standard of deferred payment. People don't use this to pay debts later on. It's not an acceptable thing or a known standard for debt repayment. So these scholars, they focus on the characteristics and features for currencies. And they apply that understanding to cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in particular and say, nope, it's not a currency at all. The second group of scholars are of the opinion, no, it is a currency. They argue that these features are features which are not in the Quran and Sunnah. The Quran and Sunnah have not defined any feature for currencies. Okay, a currency is anything which people, like the Hanafi jurists, for example. So this school of law, which is the Hanafi school, they state that for a currency to become a currency, it can be done through two ways: through ta'amul, through common usage, and istilah, for people to agree upon something being a currency. So this group of scholars, this category 2, you could say, they say, look, in the Quran and Sunnah, like Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah mentioned, in the Quran and Sunnah, there is no definition characteristics for currency. God has left this to mankind. Whatever is in your favor, if you want to develop a new type of currency, it's in your favor, you can use it. Humans naturally will have a process of determining what's in their favor, okay? And they'll work collectively to make that transpire. So I've discussed this in my paper if you want more reference to that. So these groups, they know it's a currency. God hasn't defined any type of definition for currencies. And likewise, this Bitcoin was made as a peer-to-peer payment system from the outset. The whole objective is to be a means of payment. A third argument is that in the ecosystem of Bitcoin, of this blockchain, of this network, people are using it as a medium of exchange. So within this ecosystem, it is a medium of exchange. Within this ecosystem, it is a store of value. Within this ecosystem, it's a unit of account. It fulfills all its functions in an ecosystem. It's not widespread, and it doesn't have to be widespread. Okay, that condition is just for currencies, and neither does it have to be nationalized. In fact, this is atomized. The use of Bitcoin is atomized. That's the whole point behind this. Another objection that comes on cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in particular is that governments haven't accepted it. And this I have debated in depth in my paper, that is it necessary for governments to accept Bitcoin for it to be a valid currency? Now, I've argued that the entire notion in Islamic law for having a government govern monetary policy was for the benefits of people. That's all. In fact, in the first 50, 60, 70 years of Islamic history, currency was not run by the Islamic government. Currency was left to the people to decide. Only in the 74th year of Hijrah, that's when things started to change, where monetary policy became part of the government. But besides that, it was left to the people. And that's why Hanafi jurists are very clear on this. They say that the social concurrence amongst people can determine a currency, just like the government can determine a currency. It's all about what's in the interest of the people. So, considering all these discussions and debates, this is a group of scholars. Now, there's three opinions now. One group of scholars say it's not permissible to deal in Bitcoin because of the risks that exist. Okay. Again, risk is not when we talk about risks, there's different types of risk. Not every risk is prohibited in Islamic law. Okay. The entire premise for profit making, al-kharaj bil-daman, okay, that you can only make profit when you have risk in Islam. That's why if I make an investment and my capital is guaranteed, it's not permitted for me to benefit from such an investment because I'm not bearing any risk. Islam demands that there is risk sharing in any kind of investment. I must bear some risk to get profit. So risk is not prohibited. Okay, neither is risk a negative element. Okay, it's an actual feature for profiteering. You cannot profit without the presence of risk. There's other types of risk which are hazardous, which are deceptions, which are what we call gharar. That is problematic, gharar. But what is gharar here? What is risk here in Bitcoin? When we know what it is, when we know what we're trading, I know what I'm receiving. Yes, the risk is in the volatility. Okay, but volatility also exists in fiat currencies. But nobody says exchanging fiat currency is impermissible. Okay, when it's within the parameters. So likewise, why would volatility be a problematic in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? And if gharar and risk refers to the future fluctuations of Bitcoin, then when is the future fluctuations ever an impediment to a current transaction in Islamic law? It's not the case. As long as everything is clear right now, whatever the future value of anything may be, it's down to market, the market. So therefore, these are some of the debates which have taken place in cryptocurrency. So I just wanted to give you an overview of my input into this whole discussion. I've just outlined to you the different opinions and the reasonings why. Going forward, what I hope to do is we need to now discuss and consider initial coin offerings, different cryptocurrencies, how they operate, and blockchain. How can we utilize them? See, the blockchain for me is it's like the internet. The blockchain is like the internet. It's like any new technology. It can be used in multiple ways. We can use it in our benefit, or it can be used in a harmful way. So Islamically, it's a lawful thing. It's totally lawful. We can take advantage of this and use it for our benefit. So I'd like to end on these words. I'm very conscious of the time. I'd like to thank again the organizers. I'd like to thank yourself, the viewers. And hopefully one day we'll come face to face together in one hall and in one room, and we'll discuss these things. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.